We have seen this warning several times during this course in the earlier modules. Unit subprogram name, omitted optional authID clause, default value definer used. So what is this authID clause? AuthID clause defines the privilege set under which a subprogram runs and the schema context in which external references in the subprogram are resolved. It has two values. Definer is the default. Definer is the same as the owner of a program. It means that the subprogram is going to run under the permission set of the definer of the subprogram, and the definer's schema would be used for resolving external references. The other value is current user, which is the invoker of the program. An invoker is not the owner but just the user of the program. It indicates that the subprogram would run under the privilege set of the executor of the program, and the invoker's schema would be used to resolve external references in certain kind of statements. So even if update EMP was created or defined by user demo, if it is defined with authID current user clause, when user test runs it, it will run under user test's permission and user test's schema object context. Let us understand this in more detail. First, let us see the syntax for specifying the authID clause. It is authID definer or current user before the is or as keyword while defining a subprogram. It can be defined for standalone procedures. Here is an example of the header declaration section of update EMP procedure defined with the default definer authID clause. If we had omitted the authID clause, as we were doing so far in our examples, it was defaulting to the authID definer clause. It can be defined for standalone functions. Here is another example where we are defining getCount function as create or replace function getCount return number authID current user is to define it as an invoker's right subprogram. It can be defined at the package specification level. All the subprograms under the package will follow the authID clause, and you cannot specify a different value for each one. So here we are defining the package specification HR management as create or replace package HR management authID current user as. Now both the function getTier as well as the procedure update EMP will be defined with authID current user. You cannot put the authID clause in the package body. AuthID definer is the default value when it is not specified. When a subprogram is compiled with the authID definer clause, all references to tables, views, unqualified references to subprograms like procedures, functions, packages, etc. are resolved in the schema of the definer or the owner of the subprogram. Let us understand it with an example. So here is a function update EMP declared as create or replace function update EMP, which takes in pdptid a number and plocation a varchar2 input parameter. Then there is the authID clause of authID definer followed by the is keyword. It has a local variable lcount of type number. Inside, it first updates the employee table, updating the location to plocation for empdptid equal to pdptid. It then returns the count of rows updated. Let us say we compile this in the demo schema where it operates on the employee table in that schema. When user demo logs in and starts a session and calls the function update EMP, it resolves to the update EMP function in the demo schema. The function operates on the employee table in the demo schema and then returns the number of rows updated. So far, so good. This is what we have been seeing so far with the default authID behavior. Now let us say we give privs to user test to execute the update EMP function in the demo schema. Let us say that user test also has an employee table in its own schema. Now when we run another session logged in as user test and call the update EMP function in the demo schema, would it operate on the employee table of the demo schema, or would it update the employee table in its own schema? Since the updateEMP function is a definer's right function, even though user test is executing it, it will work upon and update the employee table in the demo schema. Demo user is the owner or definer of the function, and references to external objects inside it will be resolved in the demo schema. What if our intent is to update the table in the test schema when user test is executing the function? In that case, we will have to create a copy of the function in the test schema also. Then, when user test executes a function updateEMP, it will resolve it to the function in the test schema, which will then operate on the employee table in the test schema, the owner of the function in that schema. So with the definer's right subprogram, a subprogram is bound to the schema it is defined in. In order for the function to operate on objects in another schema, you will have to create a copy of it in the other schema as well, as we saw. This leads to a duplication of code. Typically, you would not have multiple schemas owning the objects. It is generally one schema which owns the objects, and other users just have appropriate rights to use the objects in that schema, and so this problem should not arise. However, one great benefit the definer's right subprogram provides is that it provides a mechanism to have controlled access to sensitive tables through the subprogram, without giving the end user direct access to the tables. So here, if you did not want to give the user test direct access to the employee table in the demo schema, then just by giving the execute privileges on demo.updateEMP, it can still execute the required functionality in a controlled way. So it gives us a better control of database access.